when it comes to the essentials of weight loss, if I was to ask like 100 people, how do you lose weight? I'm probably going to get very, very similar answers. Things along the lines of, stop eating sweets, cut out alcohol, low carb, stop eating takeaways. Or one of my favorites is staple my mouth shut. But the problem with these kind of things is that they're very extreme. Now, the funny thing is that they don't almost seem extreme to us when we kind of hear about it. When I ask how do we lose weight and people start spouting off these kind of extreme things. And the reason why is because they're kind of almost given as the norm. Do you know what I mean? When we think about how to lose weight, we think about we've got to cut out, we've got to restrict, we can't eat this, can't eat that, can't eat this. It's all about what not to eat, essentially. But just because it's the norm doesn't mean that it's your normal or what you should do. And as I said, is a kind of the whole point of this course is to kind of really remove the extreme side of things where you're either kind of like on a diet or off a diet, and help you create a lifestyle that's, kind of suited to your goals. So first things first is that when it comes to weight loss, that it's not black and white. It's not success or failure. When it comes to health, it's not black or white. It's not healthy or unhealthy. A lot of people think is that like that when they're, trying to be good, trying to lose some weight, whatever, is that they go on this diet or even just make up a couple of rules that I'm not going to eat any biscuits, something along the lines of that. And as soon as then they eat a biscuit, I failed. I'm now off my diet. I've broken my diet, and they give up. I want you to look at it as more of a spectrum, okay? It's not on the edges. You're in the middle somewhere starting off. This is your baseline in the middle. So, this could be your weight, it could be your current lifestyle, whatever way you want to look at this is just that kind of you're somewhere along a spectrum between kind of, uber healthy and super unhealthy type of thing. But when you want to make progress, you just have to move the dial towards the healthier side. So, like if I eat an extra portion of broccoli or you eat an extra portion of broccoli tonight at dinner, it doesn't mean you're uber healthy. It just means you've made a healthier choice. If you eat some chocolate or ate some chocolate or whatever, it doesn't mean we're completely unhealthy. It just means we've made an unhealthier choice. We've moved the dial down or up depending on what it is. And the ultimate goal is to have a net healthier food choices, etc., throughout the week than the unhealthier ones. And kind of leaning towards the weight loss side of things, and burning fat and getting rid of some excess fat on our body, is we've got to just make sure that we're moving towards the success side, not trying to start off at the top end of success. So the first essential of when we're going about doing this is tracking your progress. It's got nothing to do with food at the start, because we need to know if something is working. And the whole key behind this as well, is, as I said, just to kind of go back to it, is that we're trying to find a way for you to sustain and keep the weight loss going. Everybody is an expert at losing weight. Most people are really bad at keeping the weight off. And the reason why is, going back to here, is they generally have this, black or white, I'm either on it or I'm off it. So I can lose the weight over 2 or 3 weeks by doing something really intense. Don't eat any carbs for the 2 or 3 weeks. Don't eat any whatever it is. And they can lose the weight, but they can't keep it off because the method that they've chosen isn't sustainable. So first thing is we want to help you find a method that is sustainable. And the way we need to do that, first of all, is track your progress. Is we need to know if it's working and what progress that you're making. So progress, so let's say somebody steps on the scales at the end of a week or something like that, is a lot of people are they step on the scales and expect a result because they've been good, because they've changed something or whatever. But stepping on the scales essentially is showing you the effects of what you did, of your efforts, or of the plan that you followed. So if you don't make progress, if the results don't go the way you want them to do when you step on the scales, it doesn't mean you failed. It just means you need to adjust something. It's good information. And expecting to see the scales drop every single time isn't a great approach, because what if they don't drop? What we've got to do is approach it as, okay, figure out and find out what works for you. So if you're not making progress, we need to adjust things. If you are making progress, keep doing what you're doing. It's working. Now, coming back into weighing yourself, your scale weight at any one time when you step on the scales is a lot more than just fat on your body. Obviously, you've got the weight of your bone and organs and muscles and things like that. But also, a huge amount of the weight in our body is water. It's fluid. But that fluid changes quite a lot. It fluctuates. We can retain more fluid and we can lose fluid based on a number of things, including your food choice, food intake, salt intake, hydration, hormones, stress, sleep, bowel movements, exercise, and more. Some of these we can control a little bit. Other things we have absolutely no way of knowing whether they're affecting us or not. But an example would be in food choice. And just kind of going back to what a common theme would be going on a low carb diet, is that in order for you to store carbohydrate in your body, you use about 3 to 4 times its weight in water. So for every gram of carbohydrate you store 3 to 4 grams of water, which means at any one time, someone could store up to as much as 2 to 3 kilos from their carbohydrates and water in their body. So if I went on a low carb diet, I'd lose that 2 to 3 kilos within days because I'm not eating any carbs. I do some exercise, I burn it off, and therefore I've lost all that water weight, all that fluid weight. If I ate the exact same amount of calories from fat and protein than I was beforehand when I was eating carbs, fat and protein, I will stay the same fat weight. I won't lose any fat because I haven't actually changed the energy balance in my body. Fat is stored energy. So that's the first thing, is that kind of to understand that when you step on the scales, it's not just a reflection of you losing fat. There's a lot of other things to take into account there. So essentially, weighing yourself on a weekly basis, once a week, is the absolute worst frequency to weigh yourself at. You are leaving it up to chance, hoping that all these factors fall into play and show you the kind of the right number on the scales. But you've no idea. If you step on the scales, and I've worked with many people over the years with doing this, you've no idea the day before what your weight was, if you're only doing it once a week. So someone who steps on scales on Saturday and goes, oh, I've not lost no weight, this didn't work, blah, blah, blah. But the day before, they might have been 2 pounds lighter. And the fluid balance has just changed based on, as I said, any number of things, some of which you might have a little bit of awareness to, others you have absolutely no awareness to whatsoever. They're completely uncontrollable almost by your body. So instead of leaving it up to chance, and getting pissed off and not seeing the progress that you want to see. Again, this is one of the biggest reasons people give up on their diets, on their weight loss journey, is they stop seeing results on the scales. But one of the reasons behind that is they're using the scales incorrectly. Weighing yourself daily is the absolute best frequency you can use when you're looking to kickstart your weight loss and looking to figure out what actually works for you. And as I said, not just works in terms of losing weight quickly, it works in terms of keeping the weight off and finding out what long-term sustainable nutrition works for you. So here's an example of someone weighing themselves weekly, which is on Saturday in the red, versus daily in terms of going through the week. So they weighed themselves every Saturday, week 1, 75 kilos, week 2, 75 kilos, week 3, 75 kilos. After 3 weeks of effort, I'm not losing any weight, this doesn't work, bin it, what's the point? However, if they'd weighed themselves weekly and got their 7-day average, so they do seven measurements and get their average, they're 74.8 kilos the first week. Their average weight in the second week is 74.4. So they've lost 400 grams, almost a pound on the scales in their average weight. So it's taken all these fluctuations into account and actually shown them progress. That's a lot more motivating to see. And then we come into week 3 and they're down to 73.9 kilos. They're down to 500 grams, another 500 grams that week. So that's 900 grams, 2 pounds over the kind of 2-3 weeks that they're doing it. And again, we can kind of look at it, based on what day we measure ourselves on. They might start on Tuesday at 75.3 and end up at 73.5. So it's like, yay, I've lost 2 kilos based on the Tuesday measurement. Whereas the Saturday measurement is showing I haven't lost anything. So that's where getting the daily weight and the average weight over the course of that week is so vitally important and so effective at, in terms of the motivation side of things, to want to keep going, that you're seeing progress. Here's someone that I worked with last year. Basically, the red dots are the individual daily weight measurements they were taking, and this is someone who used to weigh themselves on a Wednesday morning all the time. The green is the average loss, and the gold was the targets that we had set. So the red arrows are every single weight measurement they took where they were up from the previous day's measurement. So this person, by all accounts, exactly what I just described. They said they'd weigh themselves on a Wednesday, and if it wasn't down, hadn't changed from the previous Wednesday, they said, screw this, what's the point? Got pissed off and then started, eating off their plan or whatever. So however, is by doing it on a weekly basis and getting used to these fluctuations, they stayed with it and they could see the average weight coming down and they lost a huge amount of weight. But those weight fluctuations, her weight went up 37% of the time over the course of those 12 weeks. 37, that's more than 1 in 3 times that she would have stepped on the scales and the weight's gone up. So that's why I say is you're leaving it up to chance. You're hoping that it's not one of those 3 times when you step on the scales to see the right number, essentially. You're taking that one weekly measurement is a 1 in 3 chance, is a more than 1 in 3 chance that it's not going to show you the true reflection of your progress. It's actually going to show you that you've gone up on the scales. And again, coming back to it, it's fluid in the body. It's not a reflection of fat or anything like that on those individual measurements. So weighing yourself daily, you got to do it at the same time. You need the same conditions, i.e. you go to the toilet first, then you hop on the scales. You're in the same clothes, or no clothes, whatever it is, but repeat the same conditions so you're getting accurate measurements to record. Record the number, but ignore it. I understand, as I've spoken to many people about this and gotten them to change their kind of mindset around it, that stepping on the scales daily is, you're not looking for a change in the number, you're just looking for a number to record. Again, to give you an example, is that what a lot of people don't realize that like a pound of fat is 3,500 calories of stored energy. So in order to lose 1 pound of pure fat, you've got to burn off an extra 3,500 calories or eat 3,500 calories less. Now, most people aren't even eating 3,500 calories a day. So you're talking, you have to go into minus figures in order to see that 1 pound change of fat on the scales. So when you see a pound drop on the scales, it's not a pound of fat. It's just a pound of weight, some of which may be fat. And the idea is consistently over time, if we're dropping, then we can get a kind of sense of, okay, we're definitely on the right direction, we're going to be burning fat. But like I said, is we got to ignore the individual numbers and we're focused on the average. You add up all your daily numbers, divided by the number of measurements you've taken, and that's your number for the week. So you can do 7 is best, but 5 will work. I would say provided that you use at least one weekend day if you're doing only 5 a week, and do the same days, like Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, something like that. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, 5 days. Whatever it is, again, if you miss a day, you're supposed to be doing 7, you only get 6, fine, just divide it by 6. It's absolutely fine. But again, is the key is I want you getting used to and focus on that average weight. Now, there are other ways to track. You can use inches, so basically using a tape measure around your waist, your hips, your thighs, your back or chest area. This can be good if you've got certain areas you'd like to kind of, notice weight loss / fat loss from, and also very good if you don't have a huge amount of weight to lose. So if you were happy enough with your scale weight but would like to tone up a little bit, using inches can be a better way, and photographs a better way of seeing your progress and seeing your results. But the key is in using something to record and track your results, because if you're not tracking your results, then you're just leaving it up to feelings. In terms of, do I feel like I'm making progress on this? I'm not sure. And that way there's uncertainty. You're not going to stick with a plan if you're unsure of whether it's actually working or not. When it comes to photos, again, to kind of show you, actually obviously all different body shapes and sizes and stuff like that, but like the top row will be people who've kind of like toned up more rather than lost a huge amount of weight. Whereas you look at the middle row, you're probably kind of looking a decent chunk of weight lost on the scale. So using photos here and inch measurements in these cases, you're going to see the progress as well as using weight, using that kind of thing, using a scale weight. So you're kind of getting lots of information, and that's essentially what we kind of want to do, is get lots of information so that we know if we're making progress or not. Another way then what we can do as well is use clothes. So this was a jeans challenge that we did, and basically they had to try on a pair of jeans and they didn't fit, and then 6-8 weeks later, whatever it was, they fit by the end of it. So you can use a shirt, a jacket, whatever, it doesn't matter, but something that doesn't actually fit. So funny thing is, I remember when we were doing this, that we asked people to bring in a pair of jeans that don't fit. So they bring in a pair of jeans, okay, try them on, and so we can get a photo or record of them not fitting, and they're able to close them. I was like, okay, they don't fit. No, but they're not comfortable. I was like, no, you're going to lose a lot more, inches on this. Find something that doesn't actually close, because we want them to close by the end of it. So yeah, as I said, pick an item of clothing as well for yourself and that kind of thing. So lots of ways to track, but the most important thing is that if you do want to track, If it's just a couple of pounds and you're more interested in toning, use the inches side of things, use photos. Anything more than that, you want to lose 5 pounds, you put on over Christmas, you want to lose a couple of stone, use your average weight. Very powerful tool in terms of helping you make the progress and keep it. So the next essential is our awareness of if it's working. So we want to basically be able to ask the question, did this work? Yes or no? And then let's say when we're tracking, so we're making progress, yes, okay, my average weight is down for the week, perfect, this is working, yes. The next question is, okay, what worked? So we need to know what we did in order to reproduce it and replicate results. If we leave it up to chance or to guesswork, we're then going to go, well, I think I did the same as I did last week, but then you don't get the same progress, and you've no awareness of whether what you're doing is the same thing. So what we need to do is record what goes in, your food and drink intake. And when I say drink, I'm not just talking about alcohol. Any drink with a calorie content is something that we should be recording. And record what goes out, your exercise and activity, because the more information you have, the easier it is to adjust things and fine tune things to make sure that it is actually working and that you know what works for you. Like I said, it's about removing the guesswork. Now, a lot of people will just ask me, or just give me a diet plan. Just tell me what to eat, and I'll go and do it. But this comes back to that kind of all or nothing approach type of thing. They're just kind of like, I just want to lose weight. I just want to see the weight coming down. Just tell me what to eat. Problem is that I don't know if it's going to fit your lifestyle. How I eat would not fit into a lot of other people's lifestyles and that kind of thing. And certainly how other people eat. I know people who would eat 6 meals a day. I don't do that. But that fits their lifestyle. They enjoy whatever. So it's got to fit with your lifestyle. And also then you got to like what foods you like and don't like. So I don't know if you're going to be hungry at 3 o'clock next Monday. So giving you a strict diet plan and kind of eat this at this time, blah, 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 isn't going to allow for any sort of flexibility in terms of what do I eat when I get hungry? What do I do if someone invites me out for lunch and I was supposed to bring a lunch with me? What if I go out for dinner? Those kind of things. So diet plans aren't flexible enough. And then again, it comes back to that mentality of you're either on a diet or off a diet. So if you have a diet plan that you're following and then you can't follow it for a meal or whatever like that, then it's like, so I've ruined my diet. The other thing then is a huge thing, biggest part of it is individual variance. And this is where we can really kind of just completely dismiss all the different types of what's the healthiest food, what's the best way to lose weight, all this kind of sort of thing, is because food responds differently in different people based on genetics and a variety of different reasons. But a great study was done where they basically sampled, I think it was like close to about 50,000 different types of foods and meals with like nearly 1,000 participants over the course of a week and just feeding them various different things, but testing them in terms of their blood, what basically doing blood tests after eating. And really, this is kind of just a couple of kind of excerpts from it, but really interesting thing here is the top graph shows participant number 445. And the yellow line is him or her eating a banana, and the blue line is them eating cookies. The banana shows a massive spike in blood sugar, and then a bit of a kind of come down and a lower baseline then blood sugar levels over the course of 2 hours. The cookie is pretty much flatlined. So this person, when it comes to appetite, energy, fatigue, would do better eating a cookie as a snack as opposed to a banana, because they get a more flat release of energy. Therefore, there's probably going to be no crash, no hunger, no craving, that kind of thing that is associated with blood sugar spikes and crashes. On the flip side, participant number 644 had a massive spike when they ate the cookie and a come down, and then the banana, just a gradual almost drop in blood sugar over the course of 2 hours, and then kind of coming back up 2 hours after eating it. So it shows the individual variance, that you can't say one food is good for weight loss versus another food, that kind of thing, or that's better than that. I should pick more of that than another thing. Here's another one as well, just in terms of this is the amount of carbohydrate ate in a meal. So like from 15 to 30 to 45 to 60 grams on the bottom axis there. Participant 145, the blue line, basically no matter how much carbohydrates they ate during the meal, they had the exact same glucose response in terms of their blood sugar. Whereas participant 49, the more carbohydrate they ate, the higher the blood sugar response that they got. So again, just coming back to it, shows the individual variance of foods in our body. And come back to the whole point of this course is we're going to help you find out what works for you. But the only way we can do that is by testing it. We can't give you saying, eat this, don't eat this, because what works for one person, as you see here, is not going to work for someone else. So how do we record what we're doing? The first one is just to pick one and stick with it. Make sure you can stick with it. Make sure it's not too difficult, let's say, to do. So don't try and kind of, if you're not used to counting calories, and if you're not used to using technology and apps and stuff like that, don't use a calorie counting app. You don't have to. You can literally go from the SF Nutrition Tracker, which is pen and paper, and you can record that as you're going, or you can use a notepad, jot down what you're eating, and just transfer it into the tracker at the end of the day. You can use your notes on the phone and do something similar. You can take a picture of everything you eat. Just make sure you take the picture before you eat it. I've had people kind of say that before, oh yeah, I keep forgetting to take the picture and I just eat my meal. So obviously that wasn't working for them. They needed to use another way. So food logging apps, like I've said, as well. So the two kind of best ones, the best one out there is MacroFactor for a number of reasons. I won't get into that yet, but I will do as we kind of talk about kind of portion sizes and calories and stuff like that throughout the course. But MyFitnessPal is probably one of the most well-known ones. So again, as I said, it doesn't matter what you're using to record as long as you pick one and stick to it. And if you forget a meal, it's okay. Again, this is kind of like coming back to that kind of black and white kind of thing. People think, okay, I'm recording my food, and then it's like, oh, I forgot to record my dinner last night. This isn't working, what's the point again, type of thing. Or even forget a day, it's like, I can't remember what I ate during the day. So it's okay, get 6 days of records rather than 7, or get, 3 meals instead of 4, whatever it is, in terms of just keep a record of what you're doing as close to, the exact record as you can. But all information is good information, whether you have 6 days out of 7 or 7 days out of 7. The last thing with recording as well is this isn't about you or I or any of us getting a red pen and going, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. It is about finding out what you've done, getting a record of it, and testing that against the progress that you've made. So if the average weight is coming down, your inches are coming down or whatever, then you have a record of what works for you, and you kind of try and replicate it then for the next week. Now, a couple of things with this is what can I say is, don't be so cocky on this about kind of like, I just eat the same thing all the time, or I know what I eat. The amount of nutrition trackers I've seen myself, or someone who kind of like, I didn't change anything last week. I don't know why my weight stalled, or why did I gain weight? I didn't change anything. And I looked at the 2 nutrition records from one week to the next, and I'm like, well, this is different. And they're like, oh, I didn't realize that. And that's the thing, is like, we're not that aware. And in studies on self-reported food intake, there's a notorious underestimation of how much food someone's eating. So every time they study kind of people and let them report themselves, well, how many calories do you think you ate, or how much of this did you eat, they underreported a huge amount. It's just human psychology. It's that kind of thing. So that's what I said, is don't be so cocky on yourself saying, I know what I'm doing, because the studies and the science shows that we actually don't. So by writing it down, making a record of everything that you're doing will give you the absolute best amount of information, which means exactly, we'll be able to assess things accurately. So basically for week 1 for this, is what we're looking at is getting a baseline, okay? So I haven't spoken too much about what to eat or how much to eat. That'll be next week and so on. But the first thing is, we need a baseline. We need to know what your starting points are, so we need your average weight. And then we need to record your food and drink intake and your activity level as well. And then what I'm going to ask you for accountability then is to submit it at the end of the week. Okay, so we'll send you out a form just by email, a link in an email. Open up that email, answer a few questions in it, and submit it. And essentially that will give you the accountability. You've committed to it and said, right, I'm going to do this. So each week then we're going to ask you, okay, did you do what we asked you to do? And as I said, you can't get results obviously if the answer is no on that. So the last thing then as well is kind of just to reiterate and to go back to that kind of the spectrum of being healthier versus unhealthier, rather than it's success or failure, or I'm on it or off it because I decided, I'm going to give up sugar for January, and then I eat a bit of chocolate cake or something like that, and then I give up on my diet. I worked with a guy last year who lost 20 pounds in 12 weeks. And he was very knowledgeable and had done a lot of kind of nutrition stuff before. So he knew all about counting calories, all that kind of sort of thing. But he would be very good for 2 or 3 weeks and then get like cravings for biscuits and would go to the shop and buy 2 or 3 packets of biscuits and consume them all and then feel guilty and give up on his plan, blah, blah, everything like that. So he'd be able to lose some weight, gain it back, lose some weight, gain it back. And he's been in this vicious cycle for a while. It's a man in his 50s. And so when I broached the idea of, was okay, well, what biscuits do you like to eat? What are your favorite biscuits? Jaffa cakes. Okay, so I basically said, how about we eat about 200 calories worth of Jaffa cakes every day? And he's like, what? And I was like, give it a go, see how we go with it. So basically, he ate 4 Jaffa cakes every day for 12 weeks and lost 20 pounds. So the thing is that's not what we eat, it's how much of it we eat and the effect that it's having on us. So when he went to go cold turkey and remove biscuits completely, he ended up going on binges and ruining any progress that he'd make. So that was the kind of extreme example of it. Whereas we kind of found, we just slid the scale a little bit. So we ate less overall biscuits, or kind of the frequency of biscuits increased, but it was less, he wasn't eating a packet at a time. And as I said, it gave him enough of that satisfaction that he didn't get cravings and he was able to have his biscuits and he was able to make better food choices because he could eat whatever the hell he wanted to as long as it fit into him getting results. And that's the goal of this plan for you, or this course for you, is to give you the awareness of what actually works for you rather than trying to just blindly follow the latest magazine or latest fad diet or whatever like that. It's about what works for you as an individual. So starting off week 1, take your weight daily, record your average weight, send it in, record your food intake and activity, send it in, and we'll get started from there. If you have any questions at all, obviously do let me know.